Hey, look at that lovely little bunch. Isn't it cute? Brand new. But listen, what we're doing here at the moment is we're just what we call our summer leaf thinning. The reason is because we know that if we get some UV light on these little green berries, the vine goes into protection and makes some sunscreens, and those sunscreens become precursors for flavour volatiles later on, so it makes phenolics and tannins. And so what we do this time of year, we actually go through and we just lighten up the leaf mass like this. We don't take everything out, but we just take the laterals and a bit of that stuff out just to create that bit of an open space like that there. So how does that look? See? And we just go through the whole vineyard and we do that because we know then we'll get increased flavour in our fruit just by doing that. So anyway, that's one of the many little tasks that we do in the vineyards here to actually help really crank up our flavour, because if we have flavour in this fruit, we then go to the winery and that's where then we protect the flavour and make an amazing wine. The whole story and process about our Ocean View estates, my background's heritage is German, and Mum and Dad migrated to Australia in about 1970. I was only about 3 years old, but Mum and Dad, or Dad comes from a wine growing region. His great grandparents were in the Moselle and they had their own vineyard and establishment. I suppose that's where the passion and the drive to do something here in Australia. Kate and I have always travelled and really enjoyed food and wine experiences, and in Brizzy here that's what we've tried to create. So not too far out of town, but in a lovely environment, up in the hills, so we're 450 above sea level, so we get about 5 degrees cooling, and that really helps to slow the ripening down, increasing those flavours. The other thing is actually I grew up with having a little wine, being European parents every day. That was always very enjoyable, and so by the time I was a teenager I actually knew how to appreciate wine, and then we ended up meeting our partners who owned this property, and from that period of time then, because he and I could talk wine, I really enjoyed some beautiful wines that he hadn't shared with me, and one day I said, let's start a winery, and he goes, that's a great idea. He said, you know what you're doing, Thomas? I said, yep. He goes, I'll fund the labour, I'll fund it, you do the labour, I'll do all the capital, and that's how our partnership started. It was a great start, a very mutual, loving, trusting partnership, and it's still going. They're basically like our second parents. So Cal and Rose Irons are our partners, and it all kicked off from there. So we set up if you can have a look and see, we've set up our first vineyard in 1998 we started and planted in 1990. Up the back there's this 2-hectare vineyard there that's now 19 years old. And it was just, from there we started, we did a whole heap of research on varietals. So, and I'll just mention the varieties that we grow here. And our flagship variety is Viognier, because of its thick skins, its loose bunches, its low vigour. It produces this award-winning wine. It's a beautiful wine. And the other thing that we grow is Chardonnay, as this vineyard here is, and then Shiraz and Ruby Cabernet. And all the vines are grafted onto a specific rootstock according to the slope, the region, the vineyard. The soil type we have here, which really helps, is black clay loam. So we have some great ability to hold water and nutrients and moisture and nutrients. So the vines actually grow quite well, as you can see. So what we're at the moment, we're in the end of September, and we've already got fruit set in our vines, where some parts of Australia their vines haven't even started bud bursting. But actually what that does for us, it allows us to shift the whole crop, the whole vintage, a month or more in front. So we have early bud burst, so second week of August, these actually took off. We don't get excessive bad frosts much after August, so the beauty of that is this fruit, like these bunches here, we'll be picking those straight after Christmas in the very new year. But they've done the vegetative phase, they're fully ripe, they're beautiful, and because we're only 30 k's off the coast, we get quite a large amount of coastal moisture and coastal influence. So if we let this crop hang out or got it to bud burst, so we ripened it, say, in end of February, and we've got one of those big heavy low pressures and heavy rains coming through, we wouldn't pick a thing. So what we've basically done is shifted the whole season or the vintage for us a couple of months forward, and it seems to work for us in our little microclimate here. So yeah, it seems to go quite well. Really enjoy what we produce, and I love growing the grapes and having what we have here, and then knowing that this is going to become the 2018 probably sparkling Chardonnay, and just to be able to grow it, see what's happening, and then take it to the winery and look after it and produce something that's amazing, that when you see people drinking that product later on, it's a real buzz to see them enjoying it and loving what we've done here on the property. Yeah.